Hello again, YouTube. Recognize that? Well, it was originally part of that. So he says, let's swing a light around so you can actually see what that is. That is a wheel off my Roscoe, my fixed tail mountain bike. And a little while back I went tubeless on it, and I really liked tubeless. So was very happy that I did. But the only complaint I ever had about it was that I had the tubeless kit fitted by a local bike shop, and let me see if you can see that. They fitted these valves that are essentially just plain milled at the end there. What that means is you can't really get a pump to purchase on them. So I've got a decent enough track pump. I've got a Joe Blow, and let's focus on that a little bit more. Let's get me out of the way so that you focus on that. There you go, that should focus on it. Yeah, so I've got a decent track pump, a Joe Blow, and what happens is that it gets up to a certain amount of pressure and then suddenly, bang, it does Joe Blow straight off. So you end up with the old classic thumb over the top of the valve, whilst you, or the valve adapter on the pump, whilst you try and get air into the thing. And it's always felt like a little bit Heath Robinson to me. And anyway, long story short, last week I snapped the valve off. So what does that mean? Well, it means that I'm going to have to replace this tubeless valve. So I don't think this is going to be too hard, because even though this tyre is full of sealant, in theory, all I've got to do is crack the bead, take the old valve out, replace it with a new one, and then reseat the tyre. So what tools am I going to use for this? So I am an eternal optimist, and all I think I should need for it is I bought a replacement valve kit there, a Joe's valve kit, and as you can see, those beauties have got threads all the way to the end that should hold the pump nice and tightly on for me. But I do have the luxury of an air compressor, so I'm going to be using an air compressor to reseat that tubeless tyre. I don't think I'll need any sealant or anything, because my plan is to do this all with the tyre so that the valve is at the top and the sealant has all drained to the bottom. That's the theory. Remember what I said in my last video about YouTube being full of people who've never done this before. Okay, first things first, let's unscrew the valve from the outside. Just loosen it at this point, I think. Then I'm going to break this bead. There you go. That is the bead broken. Now, I'm hoping I don't have to remove the tyre, because I'm hoping I can fiddle it over the top of that valve and get to the sucker. So let's have a look. Can we do that? Can we do that? Can we push that bead to one side? Beaten already. Looks like the tyre's going to have to come off. But I stand by what I said about the sealant. The sealant's all at the bottom. So I'm going to try and just pop the top of the tyre off. This should be quite entertaining. Okay, YouTube, I could be wrong here. I don't think I've got to get the tyre off. Basically, I've just got a tyre lever, and I've managed to wiggle, for lack of a better way of putting it, that's no plug for the online retailer, wiggle that little tyre bead over the valve. So I'm just going to undo this valve and pull the old one out, then see if I can get the new one in. So let me just show you this. You see that? There you go. Hopefully it'll focus on it. So that's the broken valve. So let's put a new one in. Like I say, I'm using these Joe's valves here. Don't know why, they were cheap and all that. Now, to reseat that bead, you're going to need a really big shot of air, which is why you need an air compressor or something similar to that. So the kit comes with a little Presta adapter, and basically what you have to do is just take the old Presta inner out of the Presta valve. So you get that little tool there, slips over your Presta and allows you to take the inner core out. So I'm going to take the inner core out, put it somewhere clean, and don't lose it for obvious reasons. So where is the hole? There is the hole. Right, so that's gone in. Now I'm going to have to get the tyre over the top of that, but that's a story for another day. For the time being, let's just get this seated. So, valve is in. And I understand the trick with Tubeless is when you tighten these into the rim, don't tighten the bejesus out of them. Just snug them in. And in fact, that last one was just snugged in. So, new valve in rim. Let's see if we can fiddle that tyre over the top of it. Right, what I'm going to do, bit unconventional, I'm going to use the hooked end of the tyre lever, the bit that you normally hook around a spoke, and see if I can use that to catch onto the bead and pull it. By George, it's worked! Well, there you go. That was relatively painless. We just got to get air back in it now. So to reinflate a tubeless tyre, you need some way of dumping a load of air into it really quickly. And the reason for that is that you really want to pop that bead out onto the rim. So I'm going to use an air compressor. I've got an air compressor that's fully charged down there. Note to self, go and turn the pressure down from 120 psi to about 30. So with the valve in place, you do sometimes need that little adapter to adapt your airline to the tyre, but I don't actually need it, I think, here, because my airline is just a Schrader fitting, basically, car Schrader fitting, but it should go on there and make a seal. So we'll give this a go. I just need to get an air hose and plug it into the compressor, and remember to take it down to 40 psi. Okay, let's give this a shot. Literally, you can see there's some sealant leaking out at the bottom, which isn't the end of the world. Just get my airline on. Now we're gonna seat, baby. Okay, plan B. Well, YouTube, full disclosure, this will be my second day of working on that wheel. Being completely honest with you, whatever I did yesterday afternoon, I just could not get the tyre to reinflate. And I think some of that probably could be because there's still some of the old sealant around the bead. So I think taking a shortcut definitely isn't worth trying. So what I'm going to do, the plan for today, is to basically take the old sealant off the tyre, and off the bead rather, make sure that the bead and the tape are spotlessly clean, and then we'll have another go at reinflating. Now I think that the value in the videos I'm going to be putting together in this series, where I've never done something before, is kind of, you go onto YouTube and there are all these experts and they do, you know, a textbook perfect job beginning to end and everything runs smoothly. And we all know it doesn't really work like that in the real world. you know, how many times have you gone to do a job and you've watched a video on YouTube and it looks really easy to do, and then you try it yourself and there's a curveball, something happens that you weren't expecting or wasn't in the video, and you have to deal with it. So I think what I want to do with these videos is to let you come along on this journey with me, where I'm learning whilst doing things, see me make the mistakes, see the challenges I face, and hopefully that'll make you feel a little cooler about it when you dig into the job yourself. So without further ado, let's get that tyre off. So can you see around the edge of this bead here, and let me see if I can just focus the camera on it. Okay, there's quite a bit of the old sealant, and what I'm thinking to myself is that's obviously creating little high spots and low spots that will stop the tyre from sealing. So I'm going to clean all of that off and see how we go. Okay, so the way that I'm cleaning this up is I'm just brushing a little soapy water into it, and then I've got a little scouring pad. These are actually these are Roloc discs that go into a die grinder, but they are essentially just quite a hard Scotch pad, and I'm just gently using that, very gently, just to scrape this old sealant off. And there's tons of it on here, so already I'm beginning to suspect that this might have had something to do with why the tyre wasn't sealing. You can probably see how bad it is there. So yeah, I'd suggest, if you're going to use something this tough, you've got to be really gentle with it. You don't want to damage the bead, you don't want to damage the tyre. So I'm just very gently scraping, and like I say, I'm using soapy water as a lubricant here, and all I really want to do is just use this to catch hold of the sealant and start pulling it like it's doing there. You'd probably be better off, as I say, with a softer Scotch pad doing this. So yeah, I won't bore you because this is going to take flipping ages to do both beads. Well, I won't lie to you, this one has fought me hard. Whatever I've done hasn't succeeded in seating the tyre. It's a particularly stubborn one. So I've resorted to a trick that I saw online, which is to drop an inner tube in, inflate it so that both beads seal, then just very carefully pop one bead away, take the inner tube out, put your tubeless valve back in, and then attempt to re-inflate. Now, because you've already got one side in, you're getting half the leakage, so you're getting double the work out the air that you're putting into it. So if this doesn't work, this is last chance saloon, right, by the way, because if this doesn't work, I am going to admit defeat and go to a bike shop. But we'll give this a shot. I've also swapped to an IPA, which I understand can make the difference. Might as well use up all of this soapy water. WD40 fixes all. I'll be completely honest. I don't know how WD40 will react with the sealant, but I don't give a toss. It's fitted. Oh, thank God. And did you see that? I mean, all that was, so I think at the end of the day, right, that WD40 really made a difference. And if you know how that will react with the sealant, good or bad, pop it in the comments, because I'd love to know. And like I say, I'm no expert, I've never done this before. I do know I'm going to wash this tyre down thoroughly on the outside, but that was noticeably different. That's kind of what I was expecting to begin with. Now, I have seen one guy online who uses, I believe, silicone polish, the old silicone spray, to seat a tyre. Oh, Jesus, I'm just so happy that's seated. I really thought that had beaten me, but just shows you, if at first you don't succeed, don't quit, because you will get there, probably. So, what do we do now? Right, what we do now is a little bit of close-up work on this here valve. So, the final step is to reinsert your valve core. Start that by hand. God, my hands are so slippery. They're covered in soapy water, WD-40, Christ knows what. Tighten him down. And the job is, as they say, a good one. Right, okay. I'm not going to go to town on that because obviously I've still got to add sealant. What I am going to do is I'm going to take the wheel outside and hose all this crap off of it. I can't believe just a squirt of WD-40. So it clearly was that tyre binding inside the wheel. Probably a combination of the fact that my shitty airline wasn't putting enough air in, and the fact that it was binding on the inside. So yeah, who cares, it's fitted. So what an absolute bar steward of a job that was. And again, you know, like I say, this is a learning experience. So what I've learned from that is that definitely lubrication helps. Definitely my soapy water wasn't slippery enough, because it wasn't till I shot some lighter lubricant in there, like a WD-40, that got it moving. I can't imagine that's going to react terribly with the sealant, but we will see. So yeah, so I think what I've learnt about this is, if you break your valve and need to replace it, just slip one side of the tyre off, leave the other side on. So only break the minimum amount of bead that you have to get that valve out. Additionally, if your tyre is reluctant to reseat, get some lubrication in there. Soapy water should, in theory, work. Didn't for me. My trick with the WD-40 definitely seemed to work. I wish I'd had some silicone spray or something like that, because I think that would have been a safer bet, but the WD-40 definitely worked for me. And finally, if you have broken both beads and you're having trouble getting the tyre to reseat, stick it in a tube in, get both beads popped in, then gently deflate the inner tube, gently go around and pop one of your beads out, pop one side of the tyre out, tube out, new tubeless valve in, reinflate. And again, as I found there, if it's just refusing to seat, try a different lubricant. You know, for me a squirt of WD-40 did the trick, and honestly I'm as surprised as anyone. But there you go, you live and learn. And like I say, these little videos I'm doing here, where I've never done a thing before, they are all about learning by my mistakes. And also, you know, just acknowledging that we're not all experts. That's why we've come to YouTube. And also, you know, the fact that I see a lot of people on YouTube who clearly have never done that job before. Difference with me is I'll be completely honest about it and say, haven't got a clue, but I'm going to find out. So yeah, thanks for watching this. There will be more of these coming. In fact, I've got a brand new tubeless set up to fit to the caliber. So what fun we can have with that. So keep an eye out for that one. If you liked this, press the old thumbs up. Thank you very much. And yeah, if you like this stuff, subscribe and all that good stuff. Little dingy bell thing. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next one.